Hey everybody, this is D Eddie. Bridge is going to be doing the 100% Deathless route, which pretty much means he won't be able to die. There's also the option to be able to up A with a second controller, and that's also not allowed in this category. So we're going to be seeing the whole game with all of the backtracking. He'll be getting started here anytime. It looks like he's going to be using the Samus suitless code, which doesn't change any gameplay, just makes her look great. And he'll be getting started anytime now. Starting right now. So first off, we go left first, unlike most NES games, because we gotta get the morph ball, because that's how Samus rolls. In this game, when you're moving, when you're jumping, you're traveling at 75% speed of the normal walking speed. And so you're going to see him try to cling to that ground as much as possible. There really isn't too much more to it than that, other than maybe enemy manipulation, which is when there's only a certain number of slots that can be filled, and the directions are maintained in all of the rooms from the previous slots. So you'll see him leaving some enemies, shooting some enemies, freezing some enemies, waiting for some enemies to change directions before he scrolls them off screen. This is a really good example of that. In fact, you'll see him jumping and pausing just for a split second to wait for an enemy to bounce back to the left so the next one's out of his way. He'll do that twice here, and he's through. BreadForBrunch is a fantastic runner of this game, even with the occasional slip-up. But he really likes to make sure to hug those jumps. The platforming in this game is quite a bit specific. If you're pushing it, it is easier to fail. So we're going to head down to missiles. In 100%, we collect 21 missiles, 8 E-tanks, morph ball, ice beam, bombs, Variasuit, wave beam, screw attack, high jump, ice beam again, and then everyone's favorite, the long beam. So, as we've come to our first missile pack, we can explain what missiles do. Missiles, if you're unfamiliar, give you the ability to not only shoot missiles at enemies, but open red doors. Red doors take 5 missiles to open. There's some other doors that take 10, but mainly it's the 5 ones that matter for now. So he's going to just be flying through these early sections, because as you might imagine, he's done these parts the most. So like these times here is a perfect example of times where he is waiting for enemies to be doing exactly what he wants before he scrolls them off screen. And while that might look slow, it's actually making the next rooms considerably more easy to go through. This is a good example of it. This pattern here can be terrible in the next room. And then we're going to be getting to our first wrap. Wrapping is how we get out of having to have bombs for certain things. So we're going to be going into the door, waiting for the door to close on us, and then repeatedly unmorphing and morphing to be able to get up through the wall. And he'll do that now here. This one's pretty simple. You're just morphing and unmorphing. There are 5 wraps altogether in this route, and this one is probably the most straightforward of all of them. You can just hit down and up repeatedly, and there you are. Several other ones will have you actually performing things off screen, actual platforming off the screen, and it can be very interesting to watch, but it's actually extremely impressive. So now we get our first item, which is ice. Just opening that red door with the 5 missiles. And now we have the ability to freeze things. So we're going to move on to the next E-tank here, or the first E-tank rather. And E-tanks give you an extra 100 health and the capacity to hold that. I guess I should say it fills your health entirely and the capacity to hold an extra 100. This is a good example of Bridge using what are called, I call them down-up jumps. That you get a little bit of extra height and do some jumps that the game didn't necessarily intend for you to be able to do easily. So now we have this first E-tank. We're going to be heading around to bombs. This is where most 100% runs would be reset typically, because this is where all the RNG in the run is. He's going to have to get missiles, a refill here. And so he's going to kill as many enemies as he can, trying to stick as close to optimal as possible while still trying to kill every enemy. And we've got 2 here. Anytime you're at an even number, you may see him use a missile, and that's not actually a waste because we need an odd number and they come in packs of 2s. So he's going to come in here, explaining a little bit while he's farming for missiles how drops work. There is a certain number of them that you can get when entering a room, and that is set as you enter the room. You can see he has 4 now, and he just used 1. Now he's down to 3 and needs the 1 more pack. So health is the same way. There's a set amount as you enter any room. And we'll see him probably get missiles here, hopefully. Oh, so we're still farming here. So you might see him actually reset the room to try for a better chance at more missiles. But on top of that, then it is frame-based. What you will get as an enemy is killed. So what frame decides whether or not it is a drop and what drop that will be. So we're just kind of really hoping here. This is going to be the biggest kind of choke point of the run. He's going to actually exit and try to reset that room because he had bad missile luck there. But we're getting it. Let's hope for a little bit. Oh, still getting that health. And like I said, this is the #1 place where people reset in the run, and then from here it is smooth sailing. There's that missile pack. We're going to see him conserve them all now. And 5 for the door. And we are to bombs. So now with bombs, we'll have the ability to actually bomb through the floors that we were wrapping to get through before. And it also gives us the ability to do things like bomb jumps, which can just give you a little extra height in certain areas. And we'll be seeing a multitude of techniques out of BreadForBrunch here, as he is one of the people who really likes to do things with finesse. This is a really hard trick. Let's see if he can get it here. He actually didn't get the enemy spawn to be the favorable way. So that's another thing that's definitely worth mentioning, as he nicely fixes that. The direction of an enemy in a specific slot is maintained in the next room. And so with that means it can actually seem quite random, but if you know what slot they're in, you can map it in your head pretty well as to which ones need to be affected to make the ones you want to be in certain areas the way that you like them to be. And so a lot of the magic that's happening behind the scenes here is that kind of math that's happening, and it's really just instilled into the hundreds of runs that Bread has done. And he'll be getting damage boosts forward, like that one that he had just done, just to try to give him that little extra boost. We're going to be seeing another interesting wrap here. This one's a little bit more different. This one starts the having to do some things off screen. So you might be able to hear he's jumping, he's moving, he's shooting, he's doing a big jump, and here he is up in the next room. That's fantastic. I tried that yesterday myself and was doing terrible at it. So there we are. We're through. And we're at the various suits. So now all damage will be reduced by half. And at this point, it is smooth sailing. A player like Bread is not going to need even nearly as much health as he has for the rest of the run. But we're going to see all of the tiny little manipulations and movements, inputs that he can do to save time at this point. I've heard him say that 100% is more about 100 small hurdles than it is the big hurdles. So we are actually, I think we are done with Brinstar here. And we're moving on to Norfair for Missile 3, 4, and another wrap coming up soon. So we're going to see him freezing, moving through these rooms quickly. just kind of getting through there in time. Other things that are worth mentioning in this game, there's an unmorphed jump, and you've probably already seen him even doing it because you can do it the moment you get the first item. If you roll off of a ledge and you're still in Morph Ball and you don't hit left or right, you have another jump coming for you. So you can jump right in the middle of the air, and he'll be using that to do several things and make them much more consistent throughout the run, especially at the end towards Mother Brain. That is where it's definitely showed off really nicely. So now we're into Norfair for the first time, rather, heading for Missile 3 and 4. He's going to head to the left, which most categories don't do. So it's nice to see. As we work through this whole section, Norfair is the land of missiles, pretty much. We'll be getting a lot of our missiles here. A lot of the 21 missile packs will be picked up here. It also has one of the most interesting wraps, and that'll be coming up here fairly soon, actually. He has to not only do the platforming off screen, not only do it within a time window, but really specifically tight jumps in this next coming wrap. And let's see how it comes. Well, actually, he still has to go get the other missile because I am getting out of order here. But that next wrap is really impressive. There's that missile. And a lot of the things that you don't see are actually extremely interesting in this run. For instance, the palettes, the colors on screen actually would be changing if you were to be going in a standard route. Here's that wrap we were talking about. He's falling down, he's opening doors and jumping on platforms while not being able to see. He might be a little hung up, but he's going to get this. And he's through. And that is a very difficult thing, especially if you get a little hung up there. He had to fix that, which can be difficult, but I had full faith in him. And we are through that wrap onto Missile 5, 6, and then Wave Beam. And then everyone's favorite missile, the Lonely Missile. In this category, like I mentioned before, since you can't take any deaths, you have to backtrack everything. That can be fun sometimes, it can be painful other times, but it really showcases how interesting these levels can be. And as we clean up these missiles here and head towards Wave Beam, we're getting to about halfway done with the first trip to Norfair. Now you might be noticing that a lot of the rooms are being reused, and that's basically due to NES limitations. And some people might even have said laziness on programmers' part. But personally, I was in a hotel recently and every single floor looked exactly the same. So you can call it laziness, I might call it realism. I'll let you decide. So we are heading to, I believe, missile number 6, and then to Wave Beam. This part of Norfair really is interesting because there's so many things he's doing to even manipulate the lag that can be created by a game that's as intensive as this for the NES. Speaking of lag, the Wave Beam is a blessing and a curse, because while it will let you shoot things, we're going to be able to shoot the block above and below what we were able to shoot before. However, it can be extremely different than every other beam in the game and has very different properties, and so you'll see people really dislike the Wave Beam. It ends up missing a lot. It ends up not being able to shoot doors when you're right next to them. That actually just happened, just for a split second. So we're going to be spending a good portion of the next couple of areas with the wave beam, and all of that is extremely precise shots. But it does let us do things like that, like open up areas where you normally wouldn't with other beams. So we're on to the Lonely Missile. Everyone calls it the Lonely Missile because it sits out here all by itself. Normally, in other runs where you would be able to do an up A warp, you would do that now to stop from all of this backtracking. However, this is the fastest way to screw attack if you're not going to die. So we're going to get to there and another E-tank. And then we're going to be pretty much heading to Ridley. Just another item to grab in Norfair before we head to Ridley's lair. If you're familiar with Ridley from other games, don't be too disappointed. Bread will make quick work of him very quickly. He is just really performing extremely well here too. Hardly a missed jump, and he has been recovering extremely quickly. You can see their wave being kind of being shown off as to how it shoots. And another thing that's interesting to mention is the lava jumping like that. It's unintuitive, but you want to sink all the way to the bottom to jump, or jump right from the surface. If you're in the middle, it actually stunts your jump just a little bit. And so even being in the lava can have some interesting timing to it, and you want to feel it out. And he's just expertly going through the lava instead of having to spend all this time with those bricks in that last room. So as we're coming around here, just making his way through these block clips that he's just doing, they're frame perfect if I remember correctly, and they're very impressive to see happen that quickly. If you can get your head stuck in a block that doesn't have a block above it and then unmorph, you will actually go through that block. And we're already right here through all the way to high jump, or was that one? Yeah. Now we're at screw attack. There it is. And now we're going to move over here to E-tank number 3. And the tiny little optimizations that someone at the level of BreadForBrunch plays is it's pretty ridiculous. Every single motion really is calculated out, and then to see them have to adjust from that and then perform so specifically perfect is really impressive to watch. Really nice unmorph jump there, and with the use to miss the bug as it's coming behind him. And he's just using the combination of the new attacks and beams and jumping styles, all taking it in stride as they change the mechanics on him in the middle of the run. So now we're heading over to the E-tank, and this next wrap that's going to happen isn't necessarily the hardest, but it is absolutely my favorite. It looks extremely interesting. He's going to move back to the right over here, and this next one, he's actually going to come up in the middle of a horizontal room and treating it like a vertical room, basically. It's really interesting to watch, and I think, yeah, just watch from this point forward. Here he's trying to get those block clips. It can be difficult. So he's scrolling up the screen. He's going to come out in the middle of another room here and then have to do some beautiful bomb jumps, which of course he gets first try. he's actually going to be showing off how he is in that vertical problem. So as he's dropping here, you'll see he just drops right through. And that's because he just did that wrap, and the previous wrap itself is now locking the rooms in their opposite orientation. And so as he falls to the bottom, it actually scrolls him through the top. He just took a few of those swag moments to show that off for you guys. And now we are to high jump. So now, like I was saying, the mechanics of his jumping have just changed entirely. He can jump much, much higher than before, and you'll see him take it with stride. And we are heading to Ridley. That was it for the first trip through Norfair. We've got a lot of stuff. It's been good. But we will be back soon to finish it up. But right now we're going to Ridley's lair to pick up the next few missiles and E-tanks and then fight Ridley. We will plunder her entire lair and be done with her shortly. So now we are in Ridley's lair. We're going to be heading through for another missile pack, and then a fun E-tank. An E-tank that may have caused you dread as a child. I know it did me. Trying to count those blocks for the invisible ones. But in my opinion, this is everybody's favorite music in the whole game. So we got that first missile, we're going to get another E-tank, another missile, and then we'll be seeing everyone's favorite Pokemon, Ridley. So now really, the run is just execution at this point, and he is doing beautifully. Just getting to places as fast as possible and doing... even these little tiny jumps that he's doing after the bombs are speeding up the bombs just to get that extra little squeeze of time out of here. Now we are in the ballroom, one of the ballrooms here. This one you can just say nope to. You just look at the room and you say you're really hard, and you just say no. And you go down and underneath, just like all your problems. Try to find a workaround. And we're going to head for this E-tank. You'll notice that he takes a very specific jump, and that's because of what's about to happen here. You can fall easily. That was the bane of my existence for a while. So just another missile before Ridley, and then a couple more items in Ridley's lair, and we will be out of here. This is a good example of where those roll jumps come into play. That jump is extremely difficult without that roll jump. And we're on Missile 9. So we're going to be doing a little bit of backtracking, heading back around, and then right to Ridley. Now, something that should be mentioned is boss patterns. Each of the two mini-bosses have their different patterns that they can be, with Ridley being able to throw fireballs pretty much directly at you in a very annoying way, or just over you. And it looks as though he's actually going to get what is considered to be the bad pattern Ridley, which means he's going to do it... Well, he's going to handle it like a boss here and just get hit because he has so much health, actually. But you'll notice that they aren't just arcing over him like you might have seen in previous runs. And he's using that wave beam to really get every shot in there. And it's really starting to... You can see how much this game lags. And there is Ridley. Ridley down. We're going to head for this E-tank back here. You'll notice that Ridley actually gave BreadForBrunch 75 missiles. Both mini bosses do. So with the 21 missile packs that give you 5 apiece, and the 150 from that, you have a total of 255 to go into Mother Brain with. When you're at a level like Bridge, that is going to be just about sufficient, as you will see shortly. But at this point, we are heading out of Ridley. We've got the 5th E-Tank. We're heading to the Mickle Pack. We're heading to the Missile Pack that is down, out, and around. This one is quite the journey, as you'll see. It's a lot of running. It's a lot of hallways. It's a lot of doing hallways that you're used to, but backwards, like this ballroom here. And he is just heading through here with the speed of a Tour de France athlete. And using missiles for some of them, screw attack for others. We're going to head down and around to Missile 10, which is about as long as that again. This is probably one of the longer sections you go towards the middle of the run without actually picking anything up. This is a big, big portion. So we're almost there to Missile 10. And with that, we have completed Ridley's lair, and it's the only thing left to do is to head back to Norfair. So we'll just watch him do the same thing in reverse, since this is Deathless. And he actually is on a really good, decent pace. Even with the little bit of swag showcasing he's been doing, he's on a very decent pace. It was sad to see the missile RNG in the beginning to give him maybe an extra minute or so, but really he is just crushing it at this point. Going for the sub-pickle jumps, as recently coined by BreadForBrunch himself. I think he may have missed one of them, but everything else is going pretty well. And we are almost out of Ridley's lair and back to Norfair. Now, a lot of this next section is it's really just going to be a lot of missiles. We're going to see 5 missiles in a row, and then we're actually going to be switching from Wave Beam back to another Ice Beam, because we do grab both Ice Beams in the 100% run. So a lot of this is just cleanup, since we were already here before and got the rest of it. And you'll see a lot of those reused rooms like we were talking about before. Got that sub-pixel jump. There are specific jumps that you can make sometimes and you cannot make other times, even when jumping the same height from the same position. And he has gotten several, if not all of them, that I have seen. Making quick work of those block clips again. And there's Missile 11. It's like the designers wanted you to have 25, because these 5 just kind of come right one after another. They're really close. A little backtracking now. to get back down to missile 14 and 15. And then we will be able to get rid of Wave Beam and finally have Ice. There's those block clips giving him a little bit of trouble, and then just missiling through the next ones. And there's 14. And 15. Making our way around the outside of Norfair to get to the Ice Beam number 2. And from that point, a couple more missile packs and we're all done with Norfair. He does the block clip right through. A little swag. Just a little time-saving swag, but it looked good. So now we have Ice Beam, and we're just going to finish up Norfair. Just a beautiful use of all of the different upgrades we have at this point, all in succession. And like I said before, certain enemies are being left on purpose, certain are being killed on purpose, some are being turned around on purpose, and all to maintain a beneficial outcome for the next rooms. Good freeze there. That can be difficult if you don't get that right away. And we're on to missile 16 there. One more and we are done with Norfair. But you know what, they put them right next to each other. So with that, Norfair has been plundered. We came and we conquered. Samus has grown as a person. And it's time to head to Brinstar for the second time, and just for a short while on our way to Kraid's lair. As if it wasn't enough, we'll be getting one more E-Tank on the way to Kraid, just to maintain our assuredness of victory. So we're almost back out of Norfair. Seeing these rooms backwards is always fun. And you'll see moments like that where he's taking advantage of his surplus of missiles to get rid of a little lag, but because he's a little low, he's not doing it to necessarily all of them. He's just getting rid of some lag with some missiles. 90 is a little low, it's not too bad, but he's happy with that. He's happy to save a little time. And that was Norfair. Norfair is finished for the second time. So just a little tour through Brinstar. A little pause in here and there to make sure that the enemies are doing what they want, or what he wants them to do. And making quick work of this room. BreadForBrunch really is a fantastic player. The level of consistency that he is at is pretty impressive. Taking advantage of high jump now in rooms where he previously couldn't, to skip entire platforms, which you'll be seeing a lot on the blue climb after Kraid. And even little freezes just to make certain enemies staying in the same direction when they spawn in the next slot. So this is a fun E-Tank grab. It's a pretty specific motion you'll see here. And he pulls it off without any issues. And now we're gonna head to Kraid's lair. So with the bombs, we're just gonna get right through this floor. Head to Kraid's lair, and that is Brinstar for the second time. Just the ceiling E-Tank there. So we'll pick up a couple of missiles and have to do one last wrap. Then we're at Kraid. And with 100% at this point, Kraid can be quite the pushover. You'll see him take care of him pretty quickly. There usually isn't too much issue. So heading to that next missile before we wrap for Kraid. Now with Kraid here, in this kind of strategy, you're going to want to just go straight to him since you have all the health. Freeze the spike directly onto his stomach ideally, and just give him a big old hug and fill him with missiles. That is pretty much the strat. It's kind of half YOLO, half love. And you'll make pretty quick work of things that way. A little bit of lava trouble here. And the lava really can be a pain trying to get out of it with the different mechanics. To jump from the bottom of the lava. A lot of the things in this game are counterintuitive. So we're starting. Oh, it looks like we might actually see our good old friend Mr. Fake Kraid. Here he is, and there he was. That was Mr. Fake Kraid there. He's showing off, rather than taking the time to shoot him instantly. Fake Kraid only takes one missile, though he does take hundreds of shots from a regular blaster. So he actually took a second to turn around and show him off for an extra few moments. So we're seeing what we maybe call this Fake Kraid percent. That was probably a 36 something for Fake Kraid, if you wanted to. Whole other categories happening at the same time. Like I said, quick work of Kraid. Just a nice hug, talk it out, and there we go. So we're just going to pick up this last E-Tank just by Kraid here, swoop around for a couple more things in Kraid's lair, and we are done with Kraid's lair. We may be having some issue. Well, hopefully we come back into that really quick. Uh-oh. Well, it seems as though his stream may have had something happen. We'll see if it cuts back in here. Oh, it's... We're getting some refreshing going, and it looks like we may have to wait just a couple of minutes. We can take this time to definitely say thank you so much for having us. For one, for Bread for asking me to do this, and two, Game Over Cancer, already doing so good on our goals. Get in for that TMNT vote. We're almost to that marker. The Canadian Cancer Society is really going to appreciate all of you, all of us. I'm getting word from Bridge that there may still be being technical issues. So that is very unfortunate. We're 40 minutes in to a run that should be roughly 45 minutes. And it seems like we may have to... Oh, I'm hearing noise. I'm hearing noise. Alright, we're at a low stream rate here, but we might be able to see what's going on. It seems like he may have paused it trying to figure things out, because he wasn't too far from Crade's. It's unfortunate that we won't be able to see this climb. It really can be beautiful. But as it comes through, he is taking the time to carefully climb this. And it's unfortunate because that really can be beautiful. It's a little, looks like we may have a pause here. Hopefully that buffer is nice and we'll get right back to it here. Slideshow percent. I do agree with that.
What would a run be without technical difficulty? Or at least a marathon in general.
Exactly.
Thank you for hanging out, by the way, everyone. Sticking around, especially during these moments. They are few and far between this weekend, but I mean, nothing ever runs perfectly. It's just a matter of ironing out the wrinkles as easily as we can.
Yeah, we'll hope that he can pull this one back together here. He did give quite the estimate, so he could turn this one around.
Exactly. Okay, so
we'll see.
Everybody hold your breath, cross your fingers, cross anything you can.
RNG. Oh, we got a little bit of movement here.
Well, we have moved on to the next slide.
And as you notice with this slide, there are more missile packs in this game. And we are getting just to the last of them. That was either 20 or 21. It's kind of hard to tell. But I don't think he has that last E-tank. Possibly. So he's just cleaning up Crade's lair at this point. It looks like he's heading out to get that E-tank. We're here in the jumps. He's just heading over for this last E-tank, which is going to be pretty quick here. Then one more missile and we're out of Crade's lair. And on to Brinstar for the third and last time. So we're gonna see him just clean this up. It is unfortunate that we won't be able to see. He is one of the more technical runners, and he really takes pride in clicking in all of the toes to the corners of the jumps on each platform. But the slideshow version is turning out to be useful. We're on elevators and we're here in jumping, so I think that the sound might be a little off as well, but we're gonna just roll right through this. He's getting out of Crade's lair, back to Brinstar. Only one thing to pick up here, and that is the long beam, everyone's favorite beam. It's the best because we save it for last. That might be the reason. So as we climb up through here, and with Bread taking every advantage of the high jump to skip platforms, we arrive at long beam, best beam, which everyone can agree is the meme. Just getting word that the bitrate dropped quite a bit on his end, and he's feeling really poor about it, and apologizes, I'm sure. But this is gonna have to do here, Bridge, no worries. Bread's got it. But no worries. We're almost there to Torian. Now Torian is fairly simple. It's a very linear place. So we're just going to be heading straight down, and we're actually almost seeing some solid motion there for a second. Typically this can be a pretty terrifying bridge in any percent, but in 100% he goes through it with ease. So, as we're seeing, he's actually just jumping around on us a little bit here. Not sure. Okay, we're in the zigzag room at the moment. So he's gotten through a gold door, a red door. He just has one more red door. Wait a second. We're jumping around. We might actually get to see some Torian here. In Mother Brain's room, which it looks like we may... Oh, wait a second. We are jumping all over the place. I am kind of trying to switch back and forth here. I'm not sure what we are able to see. It looks as though I'm a little confused on timelines at the moment, but I see him on the last Zeb here, and he is pumping things into Mother Brain. It is kind of hard to follow at this rate, but as I can hear from those missiles hitting Mother Brain, he is not too long out now. And it looks like I just saw some shaking and some flashing, and that is in the escape. We are almost done here. Seems like, you know, it just can't you can't catch a break sometimes with the timing of things. But he's gonna be jumping through this escape using all of his high jump and toe grabbing abilities here. I can kind of see what's happening. It looks like he's almost to the end, and that's probably close to time there. Kind of hard to tell, but that was a good game. It looks like maybe a 47:50 as he counted it, which is a darn good time. Good job, Bread for Brunch. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, and thank you, Game Over Cancer, and let's get some money going for the Canadian Cancer Society, guys. I think that's me.